Hello everyone, Richard Carlton here. Welcome to another awesome day of FileMaker training. We're here at fmtrain.tv where every day at this time, 1 o'clock, we create awesomeness. I like that. We got a trademark. We create awesomeness. We're doing FileMaker training every day at 1 o'clock, and a lot of you here are part of the folks that make it successful. So this is the upcoming broadcast schedule right here. And so we can see that I got to move it over here a little bit. So today is day one. There's a couple days of FileMaker action going on. We got a bunch of days. We got Get Functions Day and tomorrow. There's a lot of good questions about this. In fact, one of the questions that came up early was how much of this is on the certification test? And I think that's a good question. It's a really good question. I think you'll like the answer to it, but it's a really good question. And so then Wednesday, if Jacob Taylor is alive and going, we're going to be talking about FileMaker robots. It's where you have a dedicated FileMaker computer that just runs scripts for you. And so there's a conversation about that. Thursday is kind of an interesting conversation. Margaret just kind of jammed it in there. I'm not sure. Thursday's kind of an open-ended kind of Q&A on, I guess, layout mode a little bit. We're going to be talking about the inspector panel. Probably both panels, both panes. And I think what's interesting to talk about is how that's progressing. I mean, it's interesting. It's progressing a little bit. Even with FileMaker 19.2 and 19.3, they're continuing to make improvements in their what they're called quick app authoring. And quick app authoring has its uses. It's a really kind of interesting strategic case there for that. So, and then Friday we are going to have Kyle Williams. We're going to bring Kyle Williams back. We're going to try to keep it entertaining with more explosions and more exciting things. But yeah, he's going to be doing charting. And we're going to try to write a herd on him on that. That'll be good. Then Monday is probably mostly for Moki and anyone else who wants to do this. If Moki's around when he got, oh, he is here. So it's a dedicated conversation about licensing and the FileMaker platform and basically reselling your own solutions. So kind of important. I want to move it along. So reminder that this is our live stream course. If you're looking for more of dedicated training on how to learn the FileMaker platform. Once again, learning it on YouTube is okay, but if you want dedicated training on-demand videos where I want to learn about script triggers and you press a button and out come script triggers, you need to check out our video course. So you go to fmtraining.tv up here. When you open it up, you can see the live training here. We just saw that, but you can also go to the bundles over here. You need to purchase one of these bundles. It also supports this live stream. We greatly appreciate it. And that way we can keep the lights on and pay the bills that we need to pay. Calvin, are you there? Are you ready? Margaret, are you ready to interrupt and play air traffic control as necessary? Calvin.
Yes, I'm here.
This is Calvin. He's one of the most highly decorated combat veterans in the FileMaker community. He's quite good. He's built a lot of add-ons, a lot of stuff that you folks have seen and played with. The calendar kit was his invention, I believe, or partly his invention or mostly his invention. He's helped with that. In fact, he's supposed to be doing the one that works on the add-on. But anyway, so that's someday when he has time. And he has no time. He's highly busy doing very successful projects, which is great. So, Calvin, if you want to flip to your screen, we're going to talk about the get functions. So get functions are basically, it's a command in FileMaker. You need to flip to your screen, Calvin. It's still you see your smiling face. And they are a command that you would write. I mean, it's not really a text command, a command line, but it's a command. Get this, like get the weather. Okay, get is Megan happy. Get whatever. And so there's a million get functions. And it's not quite as bad as Christian Schmidt's Monkey Bread product. Christian Schmidt's Monkey Bread puts the get functions to shame. Really, he does. But this is built in the product. You need to kind of know about this. So this, if we take a look at this, this is the over here. This is kind of the, in fact, I can go full screen here. So these are the get functions right here. They're in your help. Everyone has these. We're going to start at the top. We're going to work our way down. And this doesn't represent the opinion or attitude of any other FileMaker developers. It just represents what RCC kind of uses a lot. So we pay attention to get functions we use a lot. Some get functions we probably have never used. And then you have some really much more ninja precise, developers like I would say Nick Orr, Christian Schmidt, probably Jesse Barnum, people like that who really use the kind of, I would call obscure get functions. So Calvin, can you scroll the top, see where we're at the top of the list over here?
Yeah, this is the top of the
That
list.
is the list. Okay, great. Now,
Yeah.
Calvin did build a file, so it is searchable. So if you want to pop that file up for us real quick, show us that. So that we have this file, you can download it. It's kind of the same thing, except it's searchable. It actually kicks out the results when you run the get function, right? Which is interesting. So for example, we're going to start the very first one. So just so you can see how this is working. If you slide this to the right, Calvin, so we can kind of see both here. So you have get extended privilege, extended account extended privileges. These are the extended privileges that you, the person running the script, is currently getting. Okay, and so it's one that we might use, we could use, but it's going to give you a value list. So you have FM app, and which allows you to access Pro and Go. That is on the certification test. You can take that to the bank. Pro and Go. And FM Authenticate 10. So basically, not so much the extended. This is on the test, but knowing these values here are definitely, they've been on the test. They're going to stay on the test. I don't never know when they're going to be off the test. So what does FM Reauthenticate 10 do, right? That kind of stuff. Those are things you need to know, okay? So the question is so you built this to help you study for the certification test. I have a question.
Go ahead.
So, yeah, go ahead. What was your feedback on that? Did it help you? Was it really useful? Kind of not really?
Yeah, well, I don't remember exactly which ones were on the certification test, but what I like to do is before I take the certification is just go through all the get functions and make sure that there aren't any new ones that I somehow slipped through the cracks in my mind and I forgot about it, or something that I forgot. And so I just go through and just make sure I understand how all of them are working. And so what this file did was it allowed me to just quickly go through each of these and see a little explanation of what they did and the result from each one. And then if I had more questions, I could just select this button and pop open the extra details on it. And then if it was something I really wanted to study or review again, I would mark it as a favorite, and then I could go back and find a list of all of my favorites.
Yeah.
So I put a little script in there.
I actually took the certification test in December and passed it. In fact, the seniors are going to have to take it again here. I haven't told them this. They have a deadline. They have to take it again. The reality is, as I remember, there's about 10 or so get functions on from the list here that are on the test, maybe 10. It's not that many. It's really, go ahead and, if you want to go back to this, is focus over here for now. This list is a lot more than 10. So we're going to start motoring through it, but understand I'm going to point out ones that I think you really should know. Okay, so these ones here, especially this one here, I think for sure you need to be aware of this one. This is get account name. This is your current account name. You could also have a group if your group name. This has to do, well, more with Active Directory, I think, right?
Yeah, that's correct. So if you're logging with an external authentication,
yeah.
And the way that you apply a privilege set to those account names is with a group. And so this will return the group name, so you can keep track of, it's almost like a privilege set name.
Yeah.
But only for those external authenticated
as we go through these are pretty straightforward. You got account name, you got privilege set name, you got account type. What does this return right here?
Yeah, so account type is similar as well. So it's going to say whether it's authenticated from the FileMaker file,
yeah,
the external authentication, or if it's OAuth with Amazon, Google, or Azure.
I don't think this is on the test, which is fine, but this is a good one to know. So because basically it should say authentication source. In my mind, it should be authentication source, not type. But that's fine. Okay, go back. So or down the next one, if you want to scroll down. All right. So what are we doing? So we got account type, active field contents. We end up using this quite a bit. I don't know if this is on the test or not. You should probably, but you use this one, right, Calvin?
Yeah, I use this all the time with my with the audit log that we're using Nick Hunter's on object enter and on object save triggers. It uses active field contents. You can kind of see how that works if we go down to the get active field contents. Here we go. So if I select in this field, you see it returns the value in this field. If I select this field, it returns whatever value is in any of those fields. If I type in it, we'll see that refresh. and that confused it.
So it's actually executing that up there. That's kind of interesting. Okay, great.
Yeah, so it's using an evaluate. So sometimes, if depending on what you type in there, that will confuse the evaluate.
Which is fine. All right, cool. So moving down, so active field contents, which is a good one. If we scroll down the list, what are we going to see? Let's see, active
field name.
Yeah, so that's pretty straightforward.
Again,
that's really straightforward.
Yep.
Active table. We have to. Unfortunately, we can't spin on the ones that we consider really low hanging fruit. We guess I kind of have to skim through them pretty quick. Active field table name would be pretty straightforward. Active layout object name. That's has some interest. We don't have to dig into it, but it just understand that as you tab through or you click on a button, once again, understand that if you click on a button, that button is not active. Okay, so it's really important that you understand that. Okay, the more detail. Yeah, see, this doesn't give you do justice here. If you come over here and dig into it here, you're going to find out that it's actually a test question. Is that if you want to clicking a button, yeah, see right here, it says right here. See, this is why I like the help. Okay, and Calvin's scrolling, quit scrolling. So right here, this is the part that's really interesting. So that is a test question right there. You can take it to the bank. That's a test question. And what they'll say, oh, I want to click on a button, but I need to know what script or what button is being activated. How would you do that? Well, one of the things they say is, oh, run a function, get active layout object name. Makes perfect sense. This, in my opinion, should work, but it has to do with some funkiness under the hood of the way FileMaker actually, as you click down, clicking, it causes things to affect down through the triggering of the arrow or the mouse or the pointer, and so it's pretty interesting. But that's testable material. Definitely don't leave that out. All right, what's next on our thing, Calvin?
This is active layout object name. We're on active modifier keys.
Okay, we use this all the time, and what I do is a little trick. I'm gonna just break this. We're not gonna drill into this real quick, but when you're in starting point or some other solution, a lot of times you want a user to pop a new window. And I got this from some other app. It was from browser at the time or whatever like that. Some browsers still support it, some apps don't. But what I do is if you say you're in starting point or your personal CRM and you're in accounts, but you want to go to this contact. Well, if you press the contact button, then what happens is that you end up jumping in the same window. And if you if you press a modifier key down, an active modifier key, then what ends up happening is that I have it pop a new window. I detect that if any modifier key is pushed, so like the option key is number 8 and command key is number 12 or whatever, they have little numbers assigned to them, then you can test to see if that's been modified. Any of them are down. And if they are, then I pop a new window and then go to layout. So then it allows you to see the previous window and a new window together side by side, which is super useful in the world of FileMaker. And I have customers who pop 50 windows open, and then I get a tech support call saying, "Oh, why is FileMaker so slow?" And I'm like, "Show me your screen." And then I can't even hardly redraw. It's going FileMaker window. There's like 50 of them. I'm like, "Well, you've overwhelmed FileMaker." So there's too much of a good thing, right? So scroll down. Modifier key, I think, is probably on the test one way or the other. I believe so. Okay, Guy, what's our next one down?
Next one is active portal row number.
Okay, I don't use that one too much because I don't play with portals too much. If you want to comment on that, next couple of them.
Yeah, the ways that I've seen it used, I don't feel like are very reliable in performing in running a script and getting the active portal row number. So usually I do other things through select relationships. So it's not one I use a whole lot. Next one is active record number. And that one we use a lot, especially now with the master detail portal. So, because that's how
this one is on the test. You should know this one, and it's subtle. There's a couple of them that go together. They're subtle, right? So this is one of them.
Yeah, this one goes along with active record number and I believe it's just record number.
And record number, just record number, yeah.
Then active repetition number. That would be the active repetition
in a repeating field,
selected field. Yep, a repeating field. Right. Active selection size is a little interesting. That's a text function to tell you what size the selected text is, but it's not something I've used too much.
Okay, don't worry about it. Let's keep going.
Yep.
We can't.
Next one.
I mean, we can't cover everyone in detail. We're never going to get to the end. So we're still in the
Right.
A's. We got to keep going here.
So I get active selection start. This will tell you where your cursor is in a given field, and tell you what number that is in from the left.
Yep.
Then allow abort state. So in scripts you can set the allow user abort on or off, and this will tell you.
And so allow user abort on and off, definitely in the certification test. I don't know if that get function is, but that get is attached to that topic, right? So
definitely. Then allow formatting
bar state. I mean, I don't know that anyone's ever used that on the planet. Maybe. I mean, listen, back up. Christian Schmidt's used all these, so he's going to sit here and go, "I use that. I use that. I use that. I use that. I use that." But he wrote a plugin that does all this stuff, right? So, for a normal human, we're talking about normal humans. Some of the stuff you're just not going to use, right? I mean, do you care that the formatting bar is not being showed? Yes or no? I guess you could maybe. If all your bugs are resolved and you're worried about whether someone's showing the formatting bar, you've got a really awesome application. Most applications never get that far completed, right? They're just like, oh man, I just printed the wrong layout. I sent the CEO's salary to all the employees, right? That's the kind of crap that happens with most FileMaker files. Not whether Fred has turned on the formatting bar so he can format text with a bold and an underline, right? So. Application architecture. This is a little interesting.
Now, this is one that I used in the past to determine if we had multiple kinds of a plugin and we needed to install one on a 32-bit versus 64-bit. But now we're only doing 64-bit. That was the one scenario I used it. I'm not sure.
And then the M1 is part of this now too, except that they haven't put that in here because M1's not officially. So Israel Go. Yeah, so I think the M1's in here. I don't know where it's at. It's not in the help here, so that'll have to be updated. Oh, M1 says it's ARM64. So
okay,
but that says for Go running, so it would be M1 would be ARM. So they're going to have to expand that description in FileMaker 19.3. All right, cool. Next is
the
format. No, we're down.
Application language.
Yep, could be useful, especially if you're doing multilingual applications like Nick Hunter, some of these people. I think Ruben's been talking about that here. Get application version. This is like everywhere. What version of FileMaker are you using? And now what's important about this, you have to pay attention to the decimals. It didn't used to be no one cared about the decimals. I mean, the last decimal we had was 8.5, right? Now we have 19.1, 19.1.1, 19.1.1.1.1.4a. I mean, there's a lot of them out there, and they're just going to keep propagating like rabbits, right? So, know that one. Next, calculation repetition number. That's repeating fields. If you're playing with repeating,
this is important to know if you're writing a calculation for a calculated repeating field, which you can use quite a bit with what are they called, with different virtual lists in a field.
Okay, so that's a virtual list usefulness. Okay. Connection attributes. This tells you whether you're SSL encrypted or not. Scroll down. Let's see.
Yeah.
It tells you about the certificate and stuff like that. Okay. Once again, we spend most of our time just telling people to get an SSL certificate. Never mind how to even trap and check for that. Connection state. The current file. Click on that one. Which one is that? Is that the one we just? This is the one I was thinking of just now. Okay, so yeah. So there's no network connection. Then you got a connection that's not encrypted. Then you got an SSL certificate that's not verified. That's like when you used to use the built-in FileMaker SSL certificate, which is not really secure. And then this is if you have a legit SSL and it's actually set up correctly. So.
Okay.
All right. Cool.
Great. Current host timestamp.
So this. All it is gives you the time of the server. That's all you have to worry about.
This becomes really helpful in an audit log when you have people in multiple time zones, And so if you want to see, make sure you have at least one of the timestamps, something that you can look at so you can see how it's sequential. And so that can be helpful.
All right, cool. Moving along, and then we got let's see,
Current privilege set name.
Yeah, that's always going to be good. You're going to want to potentially dig into that if you have a more sophisticated solution. Get current time, used all the time. Get current timestamp, used all the time. Get current timestamp in milliseconds. What does this do for us, Calvin?
Yeah, so this one gives us the current time in UTC time to the nearest millisecond. And if you look at it, let's go over here, and I'm going to say UTC, see if that will search. So here's our current milliseconds right here. And every time I refresh this, it's going to update. But I use this a lot when I'm speed testing a script. So I'll set a variable with the UTC time in milliseconds at the beginning of the script or at the beginning of whatever process I want to time. And then at the end, I'll set another and get the difference, and that will tell me how many milliseconds it took. So if something's really fast, you'll see it's only a couple milliseconds. If it's slow, it could be minutes.
Christian Schmidt talks about that. He's saying it's really good for benchmarking functions, seeing how things go. So that's a good one.
Yep, exactly.
All right, moving down the list. Let's see.
Custom menu set.
Oh, yeah. If you're using this, go talk to Nick. I don't want to talk to you ever because this is a train wreck. It's like little nuclear mushroom cloud. Right, so yeah. I hate custom menu sets because they're so hard to do, and Nick did have like a 3-day effort or two something a while back on a live stream to make that make sense for people. So go see that. Desktop path, super useful.
Especially when you're creating reports and you want them saved to the desktop, or
some place where someone could find them.
fields.
Yeah, where someone can find the damn thing, right? Super useful, right? All right, let's see. Device. I think that's why device is kind of a misleading thing. A computer, any electronic doohickey. So here we go, right?
Yep. So
it used to be only these right here. Now this is definitely testable, so you folks understand. I'm not sure if it's there currently or not, but I would consider it testable. And then number 6 is Linux, and of course this will be the Linux for. Doesn't matter what version of Linux because there's 2 versions of Linux that are supported, or will be. Well, no, there's actually only one supported, but starting with the next release of FileMaker, it's Ubuntu, right? Because the CentOS has been dumped basically for all practical purposes. So Claris is readjusting the trajectory to support Ubuntu. For those of you who missed the memo, welcome to that. Scroll down. All right, what's the next one?
Next one is the documents path listing.
We got documents and documents path listing, right? So documents path is a path to the buried where your documents directory is. Document path listing tells you everything that's in there, right? Doesn't that say like it's this?
And that's one I'll go ahead and bring up.
Yeah, you get a list.
I was surprised that you actually would get a list from all of that. So here it is, and just arrow through this. So this was the device, and the next one.
Here we go.
Is took a minute.
Yeah. Okay. So there's a delay when this runs because it's like churning. It's like you got a lot of doo doo in the toilet and it's trying to.
Yeah, I got way too much stuff in there.
Yeah. So it's coming back.
I hadn't really looked at this, and I was scrolling through and found like iMessage conversations that I had with Miles from like 12 years ago.
Yeah, so it's every file that's in there, right? And it could be thousands of items. So I've actually seen this where you try to go and generate it. You saw a little bit of a delay there. That's not a screen refresh on our side. There's actually a delay because it was chewing on that. It could be a pretty damn long list. So just keep that in mind, okay?
Yeah.
So encryption state, I think this, when you say encryption state, this isn't SSL. I think this is EAR, right? Is this EAR?
Let's go ahead and see. The returns the value representing the file's current encryption state. I believe that would be.
Yeah, it's EAR.
Zero if the database is not
So this
encrypted.
is really, really, really important. So here's important terminology. So engineering, the engineers at Claris are not the same as the product managers or not even the PMs. The engineers and PMs get along. It's marketing and sales. So what happens, engineers create a really good product, and then marketing tries to glue lipstick on a pig frequently is what happens. And so we know it as encryption at rest. The rest of the industry calls it encryption at rest. Marketing decided to call it database encryption because in their mind there was only one encrypted thing in the product because they didn't know the product did other encryption. Shh, don't tell them they were wrong. Okay, so it's kind of an unfortunate thing, but yes, it's called database encryption. So if you see the term, the two words together, database encryption, that's marketing lingo for encryption at rest, because they didn't want to call it at rest because from their minds they don't use it, and for them the database is never really moving or going anywhere and not sitting still, so why would it be at rest, right? So that's the logic there. So yes, understand that two things: one, terminology, and two, you see database's current encryption state. See, that's David, that sentence is a really bad sentence, but it's your sentence out of here. Go back over here real quick. They say database encryption over here?
Yep.
Where do they say it? Returns the value of the, not the database, the file's current encryption. Scroll down. The word they use on the certification test and other places is database encryption. Database is encrypted. There it is right there. So once again, even in the help document is a little not super great. Right. Yeah, file's not encrypted. Yeah, except that we had that meeting the other day where we were talking about the emergency transport, and you wouldn't have to do the emergency transport if you didn't lock yourself out of your file, right? So I have a problem with people who try to encrypt files that aren't important, and then they lose a password, then they call me and they demand that I fix their problem. All right, what's the next one? Error capture.
Get error capture state. We use error capture a lot in the scripting.
Error capture is all over. They're going to test you explicitly on that. Get abort and error capture and get current date and things like that. All the low-hanging fruit, get found count, things like that. If you don't know this one backwards and forwards, just you're going to fail, period. So, yep. Keep going, Calvin.
So that's a good one. So this is one of the newer ones. Get file locale elements.
Oh, stop. Kyle's going to get aroused. Someone give Kyle, tell him to just relax.
So
don't say that word. If you say that word, he'll start salivating. Just quietly refer to it as Jeff's son. It's Jeff's son, not the other word. It's Jeff's son. Okay.
So it returns a lot of information about this computer's locale setup. So this would be good to know if you have an app that's being used in multiple places, like similar to a multi-language app. This would be good to have to reference to see whether they're using what maybe their date format is, what the first day of the week is for this computer, and other stuff like that. But it's all put in this one object. So you can go through
very nicely
see
done.
All those,
very nicely done.
See all that data. And it gives you what kind of currency the system's using as well. So that's
hey, you're not here. You're not here when he loses his mind, right? So you have to be here like a therapist to help him out. Right.
Yeah, I'll have to come back.
Yeah.
Next one.
That'll be Friday. All right. FileMaker Path. This is where the app is, right?
Right, and I believe this could be different places depending on how many users you have on a machine and where those applications are installed, but it's pretty straightforward. The get file name is just returning the file name. We use that a bit for window naming and such. Get file path, this tells you where the path is. In this case, it's on my desktop, and but maybe you're working on a file and you don't know where it's located in the directory. This returns the file size in get file size returns the file size in bytes. And I actually have a demo file for everybody tomorrow that uses the get file size, but this can be really good to know. Sometimes Jacob's breathing down my neck asking me how big my client's file is, and get file size will tell me how big it is, so I can tell Jacob if we're having any problems with the server, if something needs to be expanded for that.
So this is kind of an ugly number right here.
Nick
Hunter got with some of the engineers at Claris and took this and then did a bunch of math on it, and so it tells you gigabytes and megabytes and things like that. So much better.
Right.
That custom function is in his lean design sample files for those of you interested about that. So.
Yeah, so that gives you a better idea what the actual
Because 9953228.
file size and
Yeah, 99. That is just an ugly number, and it doesn't. One of the things, when you go to college, and if you're especially in engineering or math or whatever, well, not math, but engineering, you got to label your units, right?
Mm-hmm.
Grams per foot, pound, or whatever that is, right? So
Right.
those are
Bytes is a little hard to understand just looking at it.
Yeah, the world doesn't work on bytes anymore, really. All right, cool.
Okay, next one. Get found count. Use this all the time.
Oh
with,
man,
with,
test,
searching results.
Test. All right, Calvin, keep going. I'm sitting here choking on
High contrast state. I haven't actually used this one, but I assume this is like
this
if
is
you're in night mode.
A visually impaired thing, I think is what this is. Right?
Okay.
So
it returns 1 if the high contrast state is on, or 0 if false. Obviously, it's off right now for me. But that could be helpful if you've got maybe different conditional formatting to change the colors on an app, maybe for someone who's colorblind, or different settings like that. Get host application version.
I use this one, although I don't think it's necessarily on the test because it's pretty straightforward. But
yeah, and this one has a kind of a catch. I had a client upgrade from FileMaker Server to FileMaker Cloud, and all of the PSOS scripts stopped working because I was getting the host application version and getting the integer, and instead of being 19.2,
it says cloud
1.
Right?
It wasn't the cloud that was messing it up. It does say cloud server, but instead of doing 19.1, it was 2.19.
All right. So once
the integer returned.
Yeah. So once again, it's important to understand a couple of things. So one is that when Claris was originally going to ship some of this stuff with Cloud and Go both, the developer community who was on the testing at that time, climbed up their asses about making sure they put the word Go or Cloud or Server in there, so we had better delineation of what's going on. But what's really important, well, it's the cloud issue is the one, the version numbers are the other one. God, there was something else I was going to say. Damn it, my brain just derailed. I hate it when that happens. Oh, here it is. This is really important. Let me go do this. Some of you have seen this, some of you haven't seen this. So I always say, and Claris, once again, the marketing department just hates my guts. I mean, they really do. I mean, they would never tell you that, but damn, they don't hate me. So if you go Claris, FileMaker documentation. So we always say, are you using Cloud 1 or Cloud 2? And Claris says, there is no Cloud 2. There's only FileMaker Cloud for AWS, which no one knows what that means because they both run on AWS. And then FileMaker Cloud. I mean, it's like, can we make things much more confusing than they possibly
The documentation actually returns FileMaker Cloud, Cloud Server 1.18 or Cloud Server 2.19.
Yeah, and here you can see it right here on the screen. I don't know if you can see it on your screen, but I'm looking at the documentation. So the current products in market are FileMaker Cloud. So the engine is version 19 of the engine, but the version of Cloud in this case is 2. There is Cloud 1. Here's 1. Cloud 1, Cloud 1. And see, they change in there. So marketing just does this. And then when you say it's Cloud 1 or Cloud 2, because we're referencing the 1 or the 2, which is kind of important, they're like, no. They actually, on all the marketing and all the stuff, and whenever they talk about it, they get rid of that, and they just call it, it's either FileMaker for this or this right here, those 2 strings. And it's so confusing.
So get host application version. We beat that dead horse. Get host IP address. That can definitely be helpful to know when it's hosted, where it is. Get host name. So right now it's returning my computer name because it's not hosted, but it can return the host name. This is a really helpful one. Get installed FM plugins. Sometimes you'll use this to check what plugins are installed before you run a process that uses a plugin, to make sure that you don't call a plugin that's not already installed. Then you can call a installation process first. Next is Get installed FM plugins as JSON. So this is another one that less familiar with. The installed FM plugins it gives you a return to limited list with the plugin name, version, and whether or not it's enabled. And then as JSON, it returns this in a JSON array. It has the same information plus a lot of supplemental information to tell you more about that plugin. Get last error. This is used a lot in scripting. So one of we looked at get error capture state. And if the
all right, we have an official complaint about you, Calvin. I let you run by yourself for like 2 minutes here. And then Christian Schmidt from Monkey Bread goes, "Where's the Monkey Bread plugin? If you love him so much, where's his plugin at?"
Oh, I think it's on. I think that one's on FileMaker.
Here comes some creative orating. Yeah, it's somewhere else. Tap dance time, baby. Start dancing. We love Christian Schmidt. We just don't use his products.
So I have it installed, but not on this version of FileMaker.
Okay. All right, that's fine. Get last error. This is on the test, boys and girls. Yes?
This is a really important one because it will return you whatever error was the last in a step on a script, but then it will, especially if you're suppressing the errors, because if there's an error and you've turned error capture on, the user won't know that there's an error. So we use this a lot in our scripting to tell what's the last error and what we need to do as a result. 0 means there's no error. So we could keep going with whatever the normal script would be. But get last error, very important, very useful. Get last external error detail. This is a little a newer script, newer function. Oh, maybe not. This one's
yeah,
from
you want me to come in here and help you out real quick?
Yeah.
It's
I think there is a newer one.
There is a newer one somewhere, somehow, but yeah.
It's not this one.
It's not that one. So yeah, because this one goes back before you were born. So yes. Not that bad, but close. How old were you in 1995?
95, I was 8.
Yeah, exactly. So, meanwhile, me and Christian Schmidt and some other people over here cutting our teeth, walking 5 miles to school in the snow barefoot, uphill both ways, right? Because we're using FileMaker 2, stuff like that, right? Anyway, and you're watching Bugs Bunny and not on your fudgesicles. All right, cool. Keep going.
So get last message choice. This is really useful with custom dialogues and any dialogue, but you can tell what the user selected and decide which way to your script should run afterward. Gate layout access returns a number based on record access privileges available to the current layout. This is not one I use often. It's an older one though. It returns 0 if the custom layout privileges is no access, 1 if it's view only, and 2 if it's modifiable. That's have you used this one, Richard?
Get layout. Yes, we have a video on. There's a record access and a layout access. We have a separate training video. You ready for this? This broadcast is brought to you by FMTraining.tv, where you can get great on-demand FileMaker training. We have a video on record level access and layout level access in our training. Visit www.fmtraining.tv. There you go.
Yeah, I could see this being really useful on layout enter. If the person has no access at all, it could navigate you back instead of getting to a dead end.
Correct.
And getting stuck somewhere.
You are correct. You apparently have not watched my video, but you deduced the value anyway. It's pretty straightforward. Yeah. All right. Actually, is this it right here? Is this it right here?
This is get layout access.
Okay, so just keep in mind it's a no access. I think it's probably read only access and then read and write. So anyway, and same with records, right? So keep that in mind too. Both of them are very similar. It's basically doing, like, if you want to separate your sales teams because you have multiple salespeople and you have like some sort of spiff or something and they're in a competition with each other, and there's actually money involved. You can see one sales team sabotaging another sales team if they could see each other's FileMaker records. So you have to restrict their access, right? So, okay, cool.
Right. Next, get layout count. I haven't used this one, but it returns how many layouts are in the app.
This is something if you're you're building base elements, or you're Christian Schmidt, you're building some sort of app, or a Jesse Barnum if he's going to sync and he has to look at the number of layouts or whatever. This is like a third-party developer tools kind of thing. So yeah, that's definitely not on the test. Any super in the weed stuff is not on the test.
And get layout name. This is really helpful with navigation. That navigation history demo that I gave uses this.
Yes.
And definitely good to know what layout you're on.
Yep.
Get layout number.
Yep.
I believe this returns the number in the order that it is in the list. Is that correct?
Look down at the bottom. You can use alternate get layout. Return 3 if you're in the yeah, it's sequential. Look at example 1 down there. Return 3 when you're in third. It's not the layout UUID. There probably is a layout unique identifier, I would guess at this point. There should be, and you should be able to track and attack that specifically.
Yeah, there is. So one thing good to know is that this is so if we go to our layout list and change the order here, I believe that will change. So let's go just move this one down. Just thinking about it. Okay.
All right.
So it's at 1, it refreshes, and now it's at 2.
Yep.
So this isn't a static number, so it's good to keep that in mind.
Yeah, Stu just pointed that out on Discord. He's got, if you reorder them, you're going to break your stuff. So it's kind of useful. Got to keep them separate. Sorry, I'm singing the song. So.
Yeah. Get layout table name. Use this one a lot with the audit log and with other features where I'm setting a standardized field like a GUUID field in a layout where I assume that field exists. But good one. Get layout view state. Returns the number representing the current active file view. So let's go ahead and look at some more details on this.
Oh, file view. That's whether it's a form view or
Okay. So whether it's in a form, list, or table view.
Yeah.
I guess if you're using the same layout for all those different views or a few of those views, that could be helpful. Get menu bar state. Returns a number representing the current menu bar state. This can be helpful, especially if you have, if you're suppressing the menu bar and locking it and such. Especially with FileMaker, I believe in FileMaker, was it 18? The menu bar changed in Windows, so the behavior between Windows and Mac is a little bit different. In Mac, I think you can't suppress it. In Windows and Go, you can. Modifier fields returns a list of fields that have been modified in the current record of the current table. So that's a
list of modified fields in the current. So they're part of the fields that you've edited. So you're tabbing between fields, and you're editing and you're editing and you're editing, and then if you click out, though, it commits it, right? So that's the thing, right? So then,
so once it's committed, it will clear it out. But if you had a on record commit trigger, you should be able to get those modified fields and do whatever you want with them.
We're doing good on time here, so I'm going to respond to Ken. Ken says, I'd love to be a fly on the wall when the engineers decide which get functions to add and why. So sometimes the engineers add a get function to support a process. For example, when master detail came out, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago, they made some adjustments on get functions to better support the master detail view because they realized people needed to be able to see what was going on. Sometimes get functions like that millisecond one, like the milliseconds return, that's because people like Christian Schmidt are squealing like stuck pigs that they need something. we need something because otherwise we can't make this great product, right? 360 works same way. They're going to make sync. They do some squealing to get something a certain way. They add it, and suddenly it's in the product, and then it solves a lot of problems. I think Claris right now, given what I'm seeing, is much more inclined to listen. I think that there's I think right now, if you had a really compelling case for a get function and you threw it at them, they would listen. But you'd have to make the case for it. You just can't say, "Oh, it'd be really great." And so just understand that's how this works with Claris, right? Right. This is how the question goes, and people have to explain this to them. You ask for something, and they're going to say, okay, well, if we build this, what problem are you going to solve? One, and two, how much more money are we going to make? And you have to make the case for that. You have to make the case for it. Now, if it's a small ask, like it's a get function, they can do a query to the operating system and bring something back, something like that, then it's not a big investment, and therefore your promises to them of what you're going to do with it don't have to be overly extravagant, right? But if you said, I want a new layout object, a horizontal portal that, and it does this, and Claris would be like, okay, well, we need to see another $1 million a month or something, right? Or whatever they would say to do that, because it would be a big ask. Monkey Bread Software, Christian says, do beta testing for FileMaker, give comments early, push them to steer the wheel a bit to a direction that you need, right? So you have to do part of the early testing, provide lots of feedback, they value that, and then say, well, since you're doing this early feedback, it'd be really great if it did blah, right?
Next is get multi-user state. Returns a number representing the level of sharing for the file using FileMaker
Drill
network.
into that one. That one sounds useful. Let's see. 0 when networking is off. Sharing is on. You're accessing the file from the host computer. Okay. So this is number one is a peer-to-peer. So this is okay. So this was set up. Okay. This was set up with peer-to-peer. Peer-to-peer has not been removed from the product yet, but it's on its way out. Actually, of all things I've talked to Claris about, I've not talked about this, but I imagine that they want it to go away. But this is, you're accessing as a client from the server, and this is its local, right? And this is, if you're the peer-to-peer, but you're actually the person who's sharing it, right? So it's kind of a funky indicator. It used to be really important, I think, anymore. Like, there's still people who do peer-to-peer, but they're just, literally planning to retire and shut down business in the next 12 or 24 months or something, whenever they kill that feature. Can you be a client and share? Yeah, it's called peer-to-peer, Moki, right? It's a really bad, at the time, it was created back in, I need snow and stuff blowing before the internet. Back in 1989 and 1990, Claris had a feature where you could share a database with up to 25 people. It was called peer-to-peer sharing. And snow and blizzard and stuff. Back in those days, people walked to school with no shoes on, and they barely had enough to eat. And there was no FileMaker server, but we were all thankful that we could share information. Now, fast forward 30 years, and it's changed, right? Yes, Moki, peer-to-peer. But I'm trying not to encourage you. You're asking, does it do it? Yes, it does. And any second, it could be removed from the product, because Claris has said they're going to deprecate it. And I agree. There's no backups. There's no encryption. You're going to be in instant big trouble if anything happens, right? If the client crashes, it's likely to cartwheel and crash your machine because you're on pro and you're sharing it with them. But the server is really good at disconnecting people, but your pro, not so resilient. And Claris doesn't want to make it resilient because they're not trying to, they want you on server. That's where they frankly make money, and it's frankly where you're better protected. It's where Apple wants you. Apple wants you in a secure, protected, privately vaulted environment where you're safe from alien intruders, right? That's what Apple wants, right? So there you go.
The next one is get network protocol. Returns the name of the network protocol that a FileMaker client is using on this machine.
Now let me help you again. Blizzards, 1989. Repeat all the I just said, right?
Yeah.
There used to be IPX and Apple Talk and all these other networks. And now there's one. One only. One and one only.
Yeah. Next one, get network type of network being used to access the current file.
This is good. This is good. This is good.
Yeah, so this will return 0 if the file is local on iOS or iPad. 1 if the network is unknown, 2 if cellular, and 3 if Wi-Fi.
Okay, now cellular means 4G. It also means 5G. It means something other than full 802.11 AC, whatever it is these days, right? So this is 802.11, some version of 802, right? .11, something like that, whatever it is. And this is something that you have a personal service with the cell companies, and they're providing some level of service. It used to be level 2, and then it was CDMA, and then it was, yeah. So, and then LTE and this and that and the other thing. So, yeah, TK. See, this is why I got to miss TK. I don't get the snow. We were tromping through the snow with FileMaker Pro 1.0. My wife has already died of hypothermia, but I continue to trudge on. It's like we used to play this game, what, Oregon Trail? Is that what it was? Oregon Trail or something like that?
Oregon Trail.
On the command line. You've died of dysentery or whatever, right? So, yeah. So, a lot of this is from the Oregon Trail days, right? And so, yeah. So, this is important. But what network, like IPX, which was Novell, I don't even think Novell, but what network like IPX, which was Novell, I don't even think Novell exists anymore, right? Yeah, you died of dysentery. There it is. Yeah, I'm going to bring this up. So people aren't seeing this on the Discord. If you're not on Discord, you're missing this show. There's a total show going over here. So yeah, so we're kind of coming to an end here. We're going to pick it up tomorrow. We don't want to blow the whole thing. But yeah, we walk 8 miles in the snow with FileMaker Pro 1, in 1990 or whatever it is, right? But this is like a Commodore 64 or Apple II. Apple II was tons of kids played this stuff, right? Cool. Well, I'm going to cut you loose. Moki, if you want to stay after class, we will. Does anyone know the answer to this question? Sorry, in finer fuller. I'm going to let Monkey Bread answer that, because Monkey Bread will answer that question, right? So we'll do that. So that's the end of the video for today. Margaret, are you good?
Yes, I am.
Are you doing anything useful and practical and being helpful in any way?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Okay, cool. Goodbye, cruel world.
Guys just stepped up the whole way. Calm, cool, collected the quarterback. Great read, good patience. More importantly, great job up front protecting this quarterback to give you a chance. And that's all you can ask for.
Trying to rally down 10. 9:25 to go here in the fourth. Short motion by Amendola from the left. Brady takes the shotgun snap, stands in, throws it left for Amendola, reaches up and snacks a high throw and lands inside the 10, rolling to the 9. Ball slightly behind him, but Danny makes the grab.